Let's do this clip. This is one of our new sort of historically themed clips, and this is Griscom is going to lead us through this. What is the anniversary of the Black Panthers?
So I think the anniversary of the founding of the Black Panthers was yesterday. But this clip is from Chicago, and this is from, if we all know Fred Hampton, the murdered revolutionary by the FBI. He was one of the youngest leaders of the Black Panther Party, and he worked, was an incredible organizer. I mean, just in his very short life, just created such a large impact in the world. And, his murder by the FBI is one of, a real tragedy in U.S. history. But one of his really interesting movements that he started to do in Chicago was he started to try to build unity across different racial groups. Remember, this is a city that's incredibly segregated. Right. So a lot of times racial organizing wasn't as much as a part of, trying to identify how, especially with the folks we're going to talk about in a second, with identifying with their race. It's just more like you're identifying with people in your community, right? So there's the Young Lords and the Young Patriots and the Black Panthers. And we're going to show a clip here of Bob Lee, who was a Black Panther member, and here he is addressing a group of young patriots, which was a white group, mainly of poor white Southerners who had moved into Chicago. And, they're basically...
Who, by the way, were leftists.
Yes.
Contra total
the
fucking
idiocy of
bullshit.
Jimmy Dore.
Thank you. I was going subtle, but I like that.
Saying that this is some kind of white nationalist group, which is absolutely not true. And actually, if you start to look at the folks who started organizing the Young Patriots, very radical, interesting people who had a lot of understanding of political organizing and trying to find a way to, bring people where their consciousness is and raise it. And as we're going to see in this video in a couple of seconds, the political commentary and consciousness in this group of people is really phenomenal. But just, one more quick thing. Basically, they were fighting against a very corrupt mayor in Chicago.
Bill Daley at this time?
Okay. Yeah, Daley, yeah. And a police department that was absolutely brutal, very homophobic. This is a great movie if you have the opportunity to watch it. It's called American Revolution 2. And it's about like 90 minutes. You can find it. You can download it. You can also rent it out, and it highlights the work of the Black Panthers with the Young Patriots and their work organizing against police brutality in all of their neighborhoods.
Great.
The pigs, the police are protecting the landlords. If Roger run out with a Molotov cocktail to throw in one of these rat-infested buildings, they kill him. They kill him. They kill him. Somebody answer why? Why the man come down on us like that? Why?
What you're saying, brother, is anything about protecting people, they're about protecting property.
Right. Right. You been to jail before, baby? You been to jail? Right on. So I'll tell you nothing about the pig. Once you realize, man, that your house is funky with rats and roaches, same way a black dude's house is, once you realize that your brothers have been brutalized by the cops, the same way the west side and south side is, once you realize, man, that you're getting inadequate, man, education in these high schools and junior high schools over here, the same way the south side and west side, once you realize that you are paying taxes for the cops to whoop your ass. You're paying them. You're paying them, man, for to whoop your ass. You're paying them to come in to beat your children. You're paying them to run you off the corners. And you're paying them to kill you. The deal from there. The same thing is happening on the south side and the west side. And if you can realize that concept of poverty, a revolution can begin. Now, Wednesday.
That's it.
Yep. I mean, it's, and to see this, it's like these are the kind of coalitions that, we need to be, this is the kind of consciousness, these are the kind of coalitions that we need to be building today. And to see it happening then was so exciting, but you can also realize why the government and why the FBI was so adamant about destroying these kind of communities. And I mean, they came down hard on these groups.
Absolutely.
How old was Hampton when they killed him?
I believe 20.
Yeah.
No, it was a little.
Was it 20 or 22? Like early 20s?
I thought he was 27.
No,
No,
he was
he
definitely
didn't make
early
it that
20s. Yeah, I think he's either 20, 21, maybe 22.
And when you see him talk, he has such an
he was
advanced,
incredibly young.
like it's incredible. Like I remember seeing him in it. I think it was like he was like 20 in the video, and it was like it seemed like he'd been doing that for about 50 years.
I know. I mean, to rise up as much as he did in the Black Panther Party is incredible.
Like I think a good goal for leftists is to become sort of Fred Hampton enough where the capitalist state wants to kill you.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely somebody who we should, hold.
Because they were right to be threatened by him.
Right.
No, exactly. And,
Right.
And this is the point, too, is like, what's so exciting about the Fred Hampton moment and so tragic about it is like, this is, oftentimes, especially for people who are more interested in radical organizing, oftentimes
21.
Yeah, 21.
Assassinated when he was 21.
Yeah, and the way they killed him was very brutal. They poisoned him. They had an inside agent who was basically hanging around the Black Panther.
Sleeping pilled him, right?
Sleeping pill, yeah. But it's like this was a really incredible movement, but it's also a movement that happened in the U.S. that was so radical and so on point about the kind of exploitation that was going on, talking in a way that oftentimes American political movements are very shy of talking about. And to see this happening, 40 years ago, it gives me a lot of hope that, we can, try to replicate this and try to find those embers and relight them. Because it definitely existed, and it worked there. I mean, they did some incredible organizing against police brutality back then, and they were fairly successful, at least in making a big stink and making raising public consciousness about everything that was going on.
Yeah, I can't remember who tweeted this, but I saw him tweet it, and if you know who it was, let me know on Twitter, and I'll retweet it again. But basically, it said that there's this sort of common understanding that the Black Panthers got suppressed because of guns. And, the gun thing is an interesting story of Black Pantherdom, but it's really because of those
ridiculous.
Morning, the breakfast stuff and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And oftentimes those guns weren't loaded. They didn't have the capacity to create violence. I mean, it was more of like a symbolic thing of like showing, kind of personal strength. Yeah, and the Black Panther Party has, the people have, criticism of it for being too macho. But, when it comes to American political organizations, I mean, the Black Panther Party is really in a league of its own for the amount of good and a lot of political consciousness raising that it did. And, hopefully we can have those kind of movements again.
Yeah, that's the sort of misogyny things is just going to happen in basically any movement in America, right? Like the skeptics had the exact same thing with like women not feeling safe in that community. Like any community is probably going to run into that.
Well, you're also just operating with whatever cultural context that you're in.
Right.